Welcome to another episode of Conversation with Lent. I'm your host, James Lampkin, and my guest today is the author of the book While We Paint Rocks, Dr. Ryan Scott. Thank you for joining.
Hey, thanks, brother. I appreciate you having me, man.
Man, listen, this is like it's something. It's been in the making for a long time, so I'm honored and happy to have you here.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah.
First of all, congratulations on writing the book.
Thank you, man. Thanks, bro. I appreciate you.
Man, so how does it feel to finally have it done?
Yeah. If you remember, one of the ideas behind this book came from a conversation you and I had in the subway. Mm-hmm. So to see something go from an idea in a conversation to see it come into full completion is awesome, man. It feels good.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. Like, because we were sitting in the subway and you seemed like you was kind of nervous about the idea of writing a book. Yeah. Is that accurate?
No, it wasn't the idea of writing a book. You know, you're always cautious about sharing your ideas with the world. So I think many of us have gifts and things and experiences that we want to share, but sharing those things with the world sometimes, there's always hesitation. So talking to people you love and care about to get some reassurance to say, all right, does this sound crazy to you? It's probably more of that than anything else. But I was excited about it because you weren't the only person who I shared it with. I had my trusted circle of folks that I was really thinking about exploring this journey, and talking to you was, especially somebody that has always been a motivator for me in my life. It was that final, like, okay, yeah, let's go. I think the world's ready for me to put my ideas out there.
Was it tough?
Writing a book is tough, right? Because you are not just sitting down and writing. You're trying to develop a story that flows, ideas worth sharing. So that aspect was tough. The things that came out of my mind and my experiences, that was natural. That was easy for me. But actually putting it in a way that made sense and a flow, that part was challenging.
When you got the book published, did you do it yourself or you went to a publisher?
Oh, I went self-published.
Did you want to do publishing?
I explored it, right? So I decided to explore both pathways of going the self-published route, and I did research on finding a publishing agent. So I put out a couple feelers on publishing agents, and I got some feedback, a couple things that I thought were cause benefit. And for me, going with the traditional publisher versus self-publishing, there's a trade-off. If I went with the traditional publisher, I would have had to go on their timeline. So the release date would have been based on their schedule. And because I am a small fish comparatively to whatever publishing pond they have, I may be prioritized high or low, but I have no control. The second thing is the design, aesthetic, the layout. I lose control of that when I go to a publisher because I'm going to join their brands like a franchise, right? If I want to sell food at a McDonald's, it's going to be wrapped in McDonald's wrapping. So that's what this would have become. Instead of this graphic that I designed, the story, the layout, the flow been in my voice, it would have been in the publishing house's control. I wouldn't have to say, but it really would have been shaped by them. And then the last thing, if I went published traditionally versus self-published, the marketing, conversations like this, I'm still responsible for it. They're not going to set anything up. I'm responsible for putting the word out at the end of the day. The only difference is they would have given me an advance on the royalties for what they think the book is worth versus me putting in the work and showing what the book is worth.
So you actually, you can make more money self-publishing then.
Yeah, you can, but that's not for me what the point was. But you can absolutely, if you're grinding as hard as you do with the publishing journey without the financial backings, yeah, you can at least have more control of the royalties and owning the masters, for lack of better terms. Like, this is mine. This is mine forever. So I don't have to worry about any distribution company saying that we're going to stop releasing this. This is mine and I can do it forever. So the royalties I control and the amount of energy that I invest in these ideas and share with the world, I benefit from it directly.
So wait a minute, they can actually do that to say, hey, you know what? We done. We're not distributing them.
So it'll always be in circulation, right? But the backing that you get from a major publishing house, it'll change, right? You're no longer, you're the flavor of the week, right? So if you stop being a topic that people are interested in, you won't be on the front page of their website anymore, right? So the energy that you put into having a voice and getting the support of that publishing company, it changes. So you're now at the on the back burner. You're under the mercy of a larger organization versus being the master of your own destiny.
Okay. So we know about we get to know about the book, but who is Dr. Ryan Scott?
Ooh, yeah. So Dr. Ryan Scott is a makeup of who I am as a human being and my upbringing. It's also a collection of who I am from my professional experiences. And then lastly, is who I am based on my education credentials that gives me that title of doctor, right? So who I am as a person, like I grew up in right outside Southeast DC, Oxon Hill, with you in conditions that people will probably be surprised during a time where DC, like many of your guests before, would appreciate you could appreciate how difficult it was growing up in the city, right? But those things informed who I am. I had a big, loving social network, family network who helped me see and develop my work ethic, my street smarts, my identity as a human being. I had loving brothers, you included, who helped me find security in who I was as a person. So Ryan Scott is that, right? Just that person who grew up in this area who is informed by those experiences. And you had the professional, right? Colonel Ryan Scott, right? Who had 23 plus years in the Army as an aviator, who's led thousands of soldiers in the most demanding conditions and has been fortunate to see the world through a new lens. Like I brought that DC experience, but now I'm no longer from DC. I'm from planet Earth. I'm a citizen of this planet because I've seen and experiences the different cultures, and I realize that we are all more alike than we are different. But those differences that exist in those different parts of the world help refine who I am professionally, so I can bring that empathy to other people. And then you have who I am academically. I've been fortunate enough to I'm probably overqualified for some of the things because I was just the Army and my military experiences have afforded me opportunities to get 2 master's degrees, a couple certifications, a PhD. So it's lent itself to me to be a well-rounded academic professional who's hopefully still approachable. So who is Dr. Scott? Who's Dr. Ryan Scott? I see myself as someone who understands the complexity of human beings, but I've been fortunate enough through my academic and professional background to share and appreciate those characteristics of people to hopefully inspire and make them better. And that's what the book's all about, giving little things, little tidbits to make people better. And I think I bring that unique lens. Dr. Ryan Scott's background, professional experiences, and education make me a subject matter expert in that space to change people and organizations. That's what Dr. Ryan Scott is.
How would you describe yourself as a leader?
Ooh. I see myself as the coach who plays. The coach who plays, right? It's in my background and my leadership experience over the last couple of decades, I've learned that good leaders must understand what the doers in an organization are doing, right? That leadership requires a certain level of followership. So I am the type of leader who understands by participating in the process and have participated in the process how to do those things I'm asking people to do. As the higher I've gotten in my military and professional career, I've now realized this: you're leading a larger set of people. So I don't know how to do everything that the folks, my teammates, do, but I'm very aware of what I'm asking of them under pressure and high risk, high stakes situations. So as the coach who knows how to play, I provide the wisdom on the sideline. But every now and again, you got to roll your sleeves up and put together a product, get on the whiteboard, put together a vision, get behind the computer and draft some important documents, maybe get in the aircraft and go from point A to point B.
When did you know you were a leader?
I don't think I knew or even know, right? I know leadership. Leadership and being a leader. Is there a difference? I think so. You're a leader when those who follow you give you the gift of that title, right? because anyone can be like, I'm a boss, like I'm a manager, like you're in a leadership position, you feel it, but that doesn't make you a leader. How you influence that organization and what you do and the subordinates and teammates who want to follow you, keyword want to follow you and want the organization to be successful, that's when you know you're doing it right and you're a leader. And I think in my career, I learned early, fortunately, that the teammates who served with me wanted to participate in the ideas and the vision that I was trying to set out for the organization. And leadership is a journey, not a destination. So it wasn't something I got right out the gate, right? It was something that took time to polish. I'm still polishing it, still getting some things right and making new mistakes as I get some things wrong. But I knew that I had leadership qualities early in my career when I had my teammates reinforce that the direction and the ideas and the outcomes that I was trying to put forth for the organization had them in mind and had a greater good for the organization. And they didn't start with self. It wasn't about me getting promoted. It wasn't about me getting a raise. It was about developing subordinates to make them better. It was about understanding what the vision was for the organization and doing what we need to do to get buy-in so that the organization can grow if you care about the organization. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you mentioned failure, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned it a couple of times. Like, how do you I'm trying to think. How do you? I don't want to say it. Well, for lack of better terms, I'm just going to say embrace.
Yeah.
How do you embrace failing? Because we look at failing as a negative thing, but at the same time, you have to fail to learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
So how do you embrace failure? Because it's new. It being a leader can be new at times. So how do you embrace the failing part?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? Because failure as a term means something. There's a negative connotation with failure. Oh, you're a failure. And that means something holistically, right? But if we reframe it and understand that in leadership and growth, we have to challenge ourselves and we learn as people by making mistakes. Now, there's a big difference between an infant learning how to walk and they stumble and fall. They're failing at walking, right? But they're learning. And every time they do it, every time they take a new step, they get better and better. And before they know it, they're running, right? Versus failing and touching a hot stove. Like that's a no-no. Like there's a big extreme. So in leadership, if we use that same analogy, there's some things that we must do as we stumble and grow and figure out how to lead teams and organizations. And you have to make new mistakes so eventually you can run and thrive. The same is true for organizations. But then there's some non-negotiables, right? There's some leadership things where you fail because we'll say ethics. You had an ethical dilemma. You lied. You stole something. You did something for self and greater good, but you're in a leadership position. But your intention was for a positive outcome on the other end of that decision, right? So failing in the sense of making new mistakes, knowing that your intentions and the reasons why you're making those mistakes was aimed at growth and they were altruistic. And what I mean by that is like, we got do it for the greater good. I'm just trying to grow just like you. And yeah, you need to fail. I need to understand what works and what doesn't. I need to experiment. I need to not be scared to take chances. But on the alternative, when you talk about the hot stove, if it's, I see an opportunity, I see a shortcut, I'm going to do it. And I failed.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Have you ever had a failure that made you question your leadership?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I have done things where I asked so much of the subordinates who follow me, the subordinates who I serve, the teammates who I'm running with. And there's been high pressure where it's like pressure can often do two things. It can make a diamond, because you need pressure to make a diamond, make something beautiful, or it can bust a pipe. And we're all under the same pressure. And how we deal with pressure can really be telling about an organization. So if I make leadership decisions that puts the organization and put the team that I'm coaching and playing with under pressure, and some of those turn into broken pipes, you question like, okay, what did I do here that made this individual break? But we know that everybody's different. What motivates you versus what motivates the other person may be different. Some people love encouragements and pat on the back. Some people see it as corny. And if you're one leader, you can't reach 1,000 people and get the same outcome. Right now, somebody is listening to me talk right now, and the words that resonate with them, but you have the percentage just like corny.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how leadership is. So I've often questioned my leadership when you have those voices where even if they're outliers and there's one or two, I'm like, okay, where did I miss there? Because I care about every single one of the teammates that I'm coaching and playing with.
So how do you overcome that? Because clearly early you started off, got success, and you have a great career. So how do you overcome that failing?
Yeah. Like we started in the initial part of the question, leadership is a journey. And like a toddler learning to run, we will never fully reach our peak in leadership. So you're always growing and evolving. But there are different stages of comfort. I've become very comfortable being uncomfortable. I've become very comfortable recognizing and appreciating the fact that I'm not going to win every game. I've become very comfortable and I appreciate the fact that I'm not going to have 100% of the team on board. But and the higher you get in your leadership journey, the more lonely that journey is, because you will need to make decisions based on your North Star, your moral compass. And I can't look to 1,000 people and say, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? You know what I mean? Like, you can't do that. So when you fail and when you recognize that there will be failure, you have to be comfortable with that and say, okay, what is more important is, why did I make that decision? Why did I paint the rock? Why did we fail? Capture it, recognize, put it in your pocket and go. You know what I mean? And I think if we can use sports as an analogy, it's awesome if a team can win a season perfect, but they learn more if they lose a game or two.
I've heard you speak before numerous times. One thing stood out to me was you talked about how a bad leader influenced you. I wanted you to actually elaborate more on that, because that's interesting. Because we always look at good leaders inspired, but sometimes it could be like, hey, you know what? I never want to be that person.
Yeah.
So
I've been on the receiving. That's a great question. I've been on the receiving end, like you said, of some phenomenal leaders, and I've been on the receiving end of some leaders who were still learning in their leadership journey. And unfortunately, I was at a bump in the road where there was some growth that needed to happen there. And what I've realized is none of us are perfect. The organizations that we work with can be phenomenal, but whenever you insert a human being in the system, you risk humans learning and growing as leaders. But some of the things that I've learned along my journey is you can learn equally from a phenomenal leader, and you can learn equally from what not to do as you look at a leader who's still in their growth journey, right? So I've seen leaders, for example, who had a huge responsibility and a major influence on the organization, and they missed an opportunity. And in that opportunity, I, in this particular case, felt isolated. They missed me. Like, hey, you had a great chance. Like, I was with you, but you missed the mark. And I talk about an example in my book, right? There was a leader who was trying to help me understand that what we were seeing abroad as one tribal leadership team was having a conflict with another culturally different team. And as they were going back, how he described that interaction, he had a missed opportunity. He used a derogatory way of describing that conflict between two humans on planet Earth trying to find their way. And he lost me. It's like, when I'm in charge and I have subordinates who respect and see me, I'll be very careful how I communicate these things, because I am modeling behavior. And if I think that this is an indicator of what these people are based on their imperfect actions, and I communicate that in a sloppy way, then now it's a missed opportunity. So I learned that from that leader, and I appreciate it. Appreciate what not to do. And that may be an extreme example, but there's others where it's like some leaders want to be your buddy, and they lead that way. And I've seen how that works. Like, I'm not your friend. I'm your mentor. I can be your confidant. We can have friendships. But there's times where the relationship will be one where I'm going to ask you to take that difficult shot. And as a friend, it may be difficult for me to do that. But as your leader, the one who understands that I have to make difficult choices, I can make that choice. But I do care about you the same. But those titles matter.
Yeah, actually, this because this is something that I just thought about because you mentioned you in the military. I wasn't gonna bring it up, but you brought it up, and that's fine. At some point, you're going to get out of the military,
Yeah.
and you mentioned that you actually lead in a life and death situation.
Yeah.
Will it be a hard adjustment actually for you to when you get out to lead and like life is not on the line no more? Like if if I mess up or if I fail, like nobody's going to die.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a difficult transition for you?
It's funny you say that, right? Because again, you're right. I am using the military as a reference point to describe my experiences because the last 24 years, that's what I've learned and done. It's informed my lens, right? But in the military, you're not always deployed. So everything that you do is not life or death. Sometimes the things that you do are administratively important. They're structurally and organizationally important. They're not take the hill right now, fly from here, fly from there with bullets flying. The same is true, and I recognize when you get out of the military. What the stakes require may not be life or death, but there is a common thread in everything that I see myself doing outside the military, and that's other people's lives are on the line. Somebody's paycheck, somebody's livelihood, somebody's professional development. So I will treat it the same way as taking the hill. If I'm all right, best job I got leaving the military, I'm Walmart and I'm greeting folks, right? Like that's no disrespect because I think that is working and providing is important. And if I was in that important job, the decisions that I make are important because I can say something that will make and break someone's day.
Right.
And the ripple effect of how I behave as a human being has unknown consequences as that butterfly effect happens throughout. So I think even though I'm not in a leadership position and I'm making life or death choices, I know that I'm making leadership choices that affects people's lives. And I will treat that with the utmost respect and professionalism. And even the small things matter in that. You don't need to have guns blazing to make good choices. You know what I mean? And that is, because people feel like their job is nothing. Like, no, every position. Martin Luther King, one of my favorite speeches, The Dilemma and the Challenge. And he says it, I'm going to paraphrase, but he says it eloquently, and I understand the purpose of it. If you are a street sweeper, sweep streets like Michelangelo carved marble, do that thing well. Take pride in that thing. So if you're a greeter at Walmart, do that thing well because the impacts of your presence as a human being has a ripple effect beyond your understanding. You know what I mean? And I think that matters in leadership as well. Everything's important. Every human being is important.
Man, we always talk, and I always tell you, like, you're like a phenomenal speaker, gifted speaker. Like, is that something you had to work on, or?
Yeah. We all have gifts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it is something I work on. I'm very deliberate in how I communicate with humans because I care. I seek first to be understood, and in that same thing, I also seek equally to understand people I'm talking to. So I'll change how I talk depending on who I'm talking to, so I make sure that I'm understood and I can meet them where they are. But James, you got gifts too. Like, look at this, your ability to be an exhort and hear and give people the gift of your heart. It's something that you lean into, and the blessings come after that. So each of us have a gift. For me, yeah, speaking is something I've maybe been blessed with, but I've also been in a position where I've been able to hone that gift, right? You may have some talented people, some people who are brilliant, but if you don't put them in positions where that gift can evolve, grow, and be challenged and fail here or there, then you're clever,
The reason I brought that up is because you've done something that I think it's very challenging for people to do. Maybe it's not, but I've known you growing up. We've grown up, our whole lives together. So when you address your command at your change of command ceremony, what was a change of command, right?
Yeah, that's right. Battalion level.
Yeah, when you addressed your constituents, the people around you, I didn't look at you as family.
Yeah.
I looked at you as a man who's speaking to his company, to his platoon. And that, to me, that's a hard thing to do, to get somebody to view you in a totally different light. Like, I seen you as, oh yeah, that's cousin Ryan. We playing video games.
Yeah.
And for them, still get 10 minutes you was speaking, I literally could not see you as my cousin.
Wow.
I could only see you as Colonel Scott.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, that's a fascinating thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just had to point that out.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you saying that. You know, one of the things that I keep in mind as I talk, even as I'm talking to you right now, and I want to paraphrase this, I believe it's from Maya Angelou who said it, you know, people won't remember what you say, but they will absolutely remember how you make them feel. And I use that energy when I communicate with human beings to be more authentic when I communicate, but knowing what emotional tone I'm trying to strike when I'm communicating with them. And in that moment that you're referring to, it was me giving out command, relinquishing command to another leader. And it was a celebration of the young men and women who I've coached and played with to do some phenomenal things under pressure and high risk and high stakes scenarios. So as I delivered that speech, the tone that I wanted them to remember was a thank you and a celebration. And I would guarantee that they've remembered the feeling, and I would hope that they remember the feeling, even if they don't remember a single word from that speech.
I'm going to go back to the younger, before he was Dr. Scott, before he's Colonel, right? You mentioned something that I actually forgot. Your path actually started with a failure. When you talked about how you got a scholarship through the science fair, but you lost it.
Yeah.
And you had to regroup, and you found your path with the military.
Yeah.
So I wanted you to talk more about just being able to make a pivot, make a path, and just adjust to your environment.
Oh, and I like the word you use there, pivot.
Yeah.
Adjust.
Shout out to the Pivot Pod.
That's right. Hey, well, it's words have meaning. They're empowering. What we say about ourselves and what we say about the world, words are powerful. So yes, it was a pivot, but I did fail. I grew up like you, where what we defined as success was less about academic achievement. It was more about behavior, life choices, community, family, right? Don't get locked up. Don't have any kids before X, Y, and Z, right? So if that's your metric of success, and you and I, we were good kids, high school, elementary, we made good grades, but no one pushed me about the college. No one, like, dad come home, mom come home. It wasn't, hey, let's sit down and let me show you how to study, because they out there grinding to provide. So how to study, work ethic, academic work ethic, because we had work ethic. Like, we knew hard work, but academic work ethic is different. So I didn't have that. But I grew up with a tribe of people, yourself included, who helped me explore creative ideas. So I did win the science fair because I had a creative idea I explored, right? I didn't train goldfish. I proved that goldfish displayed trial and error learning when put in a maze and incentivized by food. So it's not, it's not mind blowing, but, it got me a scholarship into the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, UMBC. But while I was there, my journey was difficult. Cause it's like, okay, what got you here won't keep you here. And what got me there was being clever, being exploratory. What will keep you there is hard work, discipline, and I didn't have it. I didn't know how to study. And I lost my academic scholarship, the irony of it. But pivot. I received the flyer in the mail, and it said, come participate in a DaVinci weekend at Johns Hopkins ROTC. Like, okay. And I know. I'm saying, right? But I didn't know, me. Like, I wrestled in high school and I did sports, but there was nothing, we had no role models really that would say that we are a family that's really, patriotic in a sense of going and joining the military selfless. So yeah, it was fate that I went and joined there, but the pivot was more a blessing than a pivot, but it was a failure. Because what do you do with that when you lose, like, your grades are not hitting it? I was pre-med. I now had to change my major to economics. No shade on economics, but it's not pre-med, right?
Right.
It's different. It's very different. So I had to decide what I wanted to do. But in that failure, I self-assessed. And one of the things that my family did give me, and I think you possess the same thing, is figuring out where you are, reassessing, and moving forward. We've all been faced with those challenges like, golly, man, that sucked. Brush yourself off and go. In this case, I had a backup plan that turned out to be a professional one.
Was you scared that wasn't gonna work?
We all have hesitation when you're doing something new. But again, I didn't have a vision of what Ryan Scott would look like as an adult. I was living in the moment. And again, if you recall, we growing up, I wasn't locked up. I had steady income. I wasn't irresponsible with creating life out here on the streets doing, whatever. So I was along for the ride. I was along for the ride, and I wasn't worried it was going to work out. I was worried about making good decisions in the moment.
It's funny you said that about you didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
That it feels like that's like an issue for, unfortunately, people that grow up in the environments you grew up in, because you just can't. You're so busy living in the moment, that you don't even take time to develop a plan.
Yeah.
Like I remember even telling you, and I don't even tell this story that often because it kind of makes me emotional.
Yeah.
But I was telling you the day, when I called you after you spoke, like how I remember getting out of school, dropping out of school, and then I just started crying because I was so lost.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just being a product of my environment. Like you just can't, like you just so lost, you can't figure out the next step to the point you just like, I was literally confused, like, damn, I don't know what to do. Like, I was making I knew I was making a bad decision. I knew it. And I didn't even have the mental capacity to fix it.
Yeah.
Which was crazy.
Yeah. And I think what you experience is common in many communities, especially, we'll say, communities that struggle where the role models that are in that community are not at a level where they can teach and model for those who follow them, right? So if you don't got a roadmap, if you don't have someone showing you the way, when you hit a struggle like that, like where do you get your roadmap from? Like what do you do when you hit a road? That's why it's so important for us, especially as people in our community, to participate and offer examples of what right can look like. You know what I mean? But, I think it does hit different when you step back and realize a lot of people are like you, where it's like, I don't know what to do. I have no idea. And one of the things I've learned in my journey in the military is that you get to see different communities and different levels of income and different cultures and how people create roadmaps, how they climb, but they have one hand down behind, they pull as they climb and create opportunities and show the way. If you can see it, you can be it. This is how you do it. Sharing knowledge, sharing failure, so that when you make mistakes, they're new mistakes because your mentor or your father or your advisor, they've done it and they're putting the game onto you so that you can do something new or repeat what they did because the formula still works. And if we don't have that, then it's hard. And like you and I, we didn't have that, whether it's financial examples of somebody pulling us up and giving us a financial pull as you climb, education, everything we did was self-taught. So I feel you. That failure is a hard one. And it hits hard yours specifically because I can understand what that was like. I've had my own similar versions of that. So I feel you.
One good thing is, because I don't want the listeners to get the wrong message, because you did have both of your parents in the house, so we don't want the listener to be like, damn, he drew up this total despair.
No, not well.
But I wanted you to talk about your parents, because you mentioned something about your parents, and I didn't even, I grew up with your mom, and I remember her doing home interiors.
Yeah.
But I never thought about the entrepreneur part of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? She was an entrepreneur. And then you talked about your dad, well, my uncle, just how his impact with IBM.
Yeah.
So I do want you to talk more about your parents, because again, like with that, the parents are the ones that's going to lay that blueprint for good or for bad. It's how they want you to talk more about the blueprint your parents laid for you.
Yeah, that's a great one because you asked me one of the initial questions was who is Dr. Ryan Scott? And one of my answers is me as a person. And it's informed by my father, John Scott, my mother, Marie Scott, who stayed married and was a household of two parents up until I was 17. Although the time that they were married, it was definitely difficult for them because they got married really young and they were learning how to be adults, learning how to be parents, learning how to be employed, learning how to be entrepreneurs, and they clashed. They clashed, and I don't think they were ideal. Ultimately, they weren't a good fit for each other at that time in their lives, and they divorced, right? But yeah, I had both of them. So mom, I would say that mom was the entrepreneur of the family. She taught me and my brothers and the tribe of people that we grew up with what hard work looks like when it's all on you, when you are the one that's going to be responsible for purchasing, organizing, and delivering a service product to end user, right? And what hard work can look like when if you don't do that, then dinner is going to look different on Friday night, right? And my dad, on the other hand, was one of the first examples of Black excellence and professionalism and the talented 10% of us who, during that time, was one of the founding leaders in the technology industry as he was a computer data analyst for IBM, storing and organizing ones and zeros on massive computer systems during a time where it was hard to break into that industry. There's a lot of movies that talk about that, but also thriving when coming from the background that both my mom and dad came from. So yeah, man, I had both my parents and mom grew up in DC in a community called Eastgate, which is real rough. Like it's so rough. Not from personal experience, but growing up there and seeing it, like you just know this poverty is hard and people doing the best they can. But in poverty stricken communities, the rules are a little bit different on how you survive and take care of self first. So she grew up in that environment. She and her mom are close in age. Her mom was 15 when she had her. So imagine that.
Yeah.
And she's one of seven daughters. So a house of all women, 7 of them. Several of them have different fathers. So there creates a different dynamic. But you see that, and I didn't appreciate until I was an adult how difficult that upbringing made because she was resilient. Not perfect. Like, Scott's not perfect.
Like no,
she was resilient. She hard work and willing to do what's necessary to take care of the kids. On the other hand, my dad, again, clearly his gift, my gift speaking, his gift was thinking. He was a real thoughtful human being. And he used that to his advantage. And he got a job with IBM. Went to community college for 2 years. But he was one of 17 kids in one house. And we got 17 kids. It's hard to come on, man. Like it's hard to not have bad things happen. You can't watch all 17.
Right.
And he's the oldest male, but not the oldest. But so he's now serving as a disciplinary big brother, maybe a stand-in for dad, for his father, all those things, while also dealing with the trauma that comes from growing up in poverty. He was also one of the first Blacks to get bused from a primarily African-American community, primarily Black community, into a white school, Crossland High School at the time. He's bused in this environment, exposed to new ways of thinking. So you got this brilliant kid, a thinker who has the roots of poverty and understands life dynamics. So I learned how to adapt in uncomfortable scenarios from my dad because he was a model of that. In IBM, he was the unicorn, unfamiliar face in a very demanding environment. In high school, he was the same, and he imparted that passively and sometimes deliberately on me. Hard work from mom, adaptability from dad, and all of a sudden, love from my brothers and you can create something great.
You mentioned the race thing, and it's a reality.
Yeah.
Like as you as Black man,
Yeah.
like does that add a different layer of stress to you personally?
Absolutely, it does, in the sense that it happens on 2 ways. And the book series, Why We Paint Rocks, the second book in this installment, Why We Paint Rocks Black, which will be coming. It's cooking right now. It's complete, but I'm gonna let it cook for a bit. It speaks to that. But in every job that I've had, human beings are flawed.
Mhm.
And I recognize it's not the military, 'cause I love the military, but I think human beings are flawed and we bring our biases with us. Every job I've had, I've been reminded that I'm different. I've been reminded that I'm a black man who flies helicopters as opposed to a competent human being in a highly demanding competitive position. And I think it's, again, no one's targeted me. It's not a racial thing. It's just humans are flawed and we do it. And I think that as it comes to race, we feel that at times, right? So I think for me, it has been something that I've experienced, and it's helped me find grace in other human beings because I know that I have unintentionally done the same thing. As I talk, we could say gender, or as I talk from a dude from DC versus somebody from the city or from the country, those dynamics of how we inform ourselves, you unintentionally hurt people by your bias and your upbringing. So, but racially I have been, but it's not anything that stopped me from moving forward. You know, that pressure made a diamond for me instead of breaking the pipe.
Let's get it. Let's go into the book because you have 4 principles of leadership, and I wanted you to talk about those.
Yeah. So in the book, there are 4 ideas that I think are important in creating small, actionable steps, and most importantly, providing the answer to why we paint rocks in the first place. The first one's process. We talked about it a little bit in this conversation, but really, process is about capturing systems and ways of doing things so that you can make new mistakes, right? That's why we do the seemingly small things, like keep track of how the organization runs, keep track of those things that matter so that when you're under pressure, you don't have to rely on your gut. You can rely on the process, because I don't want a doctor who's needs to figure out which artery to touch to make a human mistake. I want them to be look, checklist, go, zip me up, count your tools, make sure nothing in my stomach. And you know what I mean? There's a process, and this process matters. And the small things matter because we are human and we are flawed.
Right.
The second is stewardship. That's the second pillar. What is stewardship? In the military, we talk stewardship all the time. And the most simple way to understand it is it's leaving things better than you found it. But you and I are stewards of our community. We have an important role in leaving a legacy and making it better than we found it. And in the book, I talk about how those seemingly small things can matter in leaving a legacy behind, and why those seemingly small things matter in transforming leadership and organizations. So that's stewardship, doing things to leave a legacy and making it better than you found it. The third one's hospitality, which I get a lot of people get curious about hospitality, but we can learn a lot from the service industry, right? There is this notion that you and I can have an experience at a restaurant, but when you go there, you know it's good if they exceed expectations, right? There's a good book called Unreasonable Hospitality that I reference in the book. But this idea that, James, you go to the restroom, we're saying you come back and the napkin's folded neatly in front of you. That napkin being folded neatly in front of you is a small thing, but it's unexpected. It signals to you, one, that you matter. We want you to come back. But there's some leadership lessons in there as well. Like, so as a leader, I can do these small things like paint rocks, like demonstrate that the burden of leadership is a big one. So I'm going to give a cup of water or glass of water to the CEO when they sit down, not because I'm trying to kiss up, but because I recognize that the burden is in the cup, like Simon Sinek says, and not in the human being, but the burden is in the cup that they bear. So I want you to focus on the conversation and not be thirsty. So hospitality is one of the pillars.
Mm-hmm.
Lastly, it's discipline. And the idea with discipline is we do these things over and over until it's part of who we are, and understand why we do it over and over. Practice not until you get it right, but practice until you can't get it wrong. But most importantly, do these things when nobody's watching. If I'm doing it for show, it means something totally different. But if I can do these things and it's ingrained in who I am, I practice until I can't get it wrong. Imagine going and being on a basketball team, and for practice, they want you to do layup drills. You make your first layup and you're done for the day. Are you good? Right? That's practice. Yeah, you practice. But imagine doing it. You made every one, but you do them. You do 1,000. All of a sudden, it's just the discipline, and now you've practiced where it feels weird to miss because you just know what to do. You know, to the minor details, the small things of where your finger should be to get that perfect backboard to net ratio to make it finesse. That makes sense. So that's the book. Those are the 4 pillars.
Do you? Well, of course, just being a great leader as you are, of course, you have all 4. But is there one that you feel like is just strongest?
I think I'm a balance. I think my strength is my ability to balance the 4 and recognize how important they are. But if you want me to give you one where it's a starting point for leaders, and I say it because I recognize that if I started there, they would benefit the same way that I think I benefited, hospitality. Hospitality for me. Why? Because exceeding expectation, being more than you seem, right? Under promise and over deliver. If you do that, you will quickly gain a reputation of trust, and you can quickly build a team by exceeding expectations. James, you join my organization, I'm your leader, and you, in your mind, think you know what you're going to get. You can size me up. As human beings, we try to put you in a box. But then I deviate from that in the best way possible. It's like, oh, wow, like you care. You're asking how my day is, and you're not walking away. You're actually standing there. You ask me another question. You ask me detail. Oh, you know my kids' names. Oh, what? And no, you remember my birthday and anniversary. Oh, wow. You remembered the last thing we talked about, or at least you tried to. You exceeded my expectation. That's hospitality, and those are some of the principles that you can do there. Those small touches matter in connecting with other human beings. So for me, that one probably resonates the most with Ryan Scott as a human being, and if I were to give advice to someone, is a very important pillar to start with.
Why is that? Because that's interesting. Because I'll probably fall into hospitality myself.
Okay.
But why is that the one you feel like you should start with?
If you connect with people first as human beings, and hospitality is an idea is probably easy to latch onto, then your ability to do the other things matter, and they will carry more weight. Someone wise said, people don't care how much you know, process, discipline, stewardship. I know a lot until they know how much you care. Right? So I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care. There's some geniuses out here who can give you a formula of ways to succeed, and I could care less about them because they don't care about me. Right?
Yeah.
But let somebody care about you. I care about you. So I'm going to start there. And if you start there with hospitality, everything else you're trying to do to get to that winning championship will matter. And I think that's where I would start. Again, knowing that all those other things are important.
Let's say the leader is not a people's person. Do you think that's something that they can improve on? Because if you're not really a people's person, man, it's hard to connect with people if you're not really a people person. Like, I feel like it's just hard to connect with people.
What does that mean, right? Like, again, words have meaning, right? Pivot versus failure, pivot versus quit. I'm not a people person. I don't like people. We are built as human beings to be tribal and societal, right? We are built. That's the third book. Like, Why We Paint Rocks Like This, it talks about uniting tribes of people. But to think that I don't like people or I don't do well with people, let's reframe that.
Okay.
Right? I think that some of us have an easier way to find connection with other people than others. So if you are a leader and you're struggling with connecting or getting along with people in general, maybe you need to reframe and say, I'm having a hard time finding ways to connect with this person. And I need to figure out how to meet them where they are. Because if it's getting along with people, what I found in my leadership experience is not every time, but it's a high probability of people who say they don't get along with people. It's something about the person or their environment that makes them not even want to try to meet them where they are. The person culturally is different. The person's loud, personal, it's a thing. Yeah. But if we try to meet them where we are, I think that we as a culture, like how many people live in the city? Millions of people. Like I still want my own room, but like we live in a community because that's what we gravitate towards. All of our economic resources, all the things we do, all the output of some of the greatest nations begin at least on the shorelines and in the city. You know what I mean? And that's not disparaging the urban areas, but I mean, that's just, it's a pattern of how humans collect. Like we just We like to be near each other. So we show that we do, but there's always going to be outliers. So some people are socially awkward and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the focus should be more on, okay, how do I meet people where they are? Or, okay, I'm socially awkward myself. Okay, that's fine. That's fine too.
Right.
But it's not people. I think we need to reframe and say, okay, what is it really that's making my interaction with humans difficult? And then we can work around that, right? But to just cut the line and sound like people out.
What do you say to leaders who believe you treat everyone the same?
I think that's wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't treat me the way you want to be treated. Treat me how I need to be treated.
Okay.
Right? You can't treat everybody the same. Every one of us responds to different stimulus in different ways. And some of us have trauma that are hidden wounds that trigger us where it would be normal for somebody else. Imagine one of your teammates who was abused physically and, you love just, hey, good job. You pat them on the shoulder. And for that person, it's a trigger. And say, don't touch me. Like, what are you touching me for? Like, it don't get in my space. I can't treat them the same way. You know what I mean? I have to treat them uniquely to their environment. Maybe that's an extreme example. Maybe it's something subtle like, some people have different capabilities and different talents. There's a great book, The Flight of the Buffalo, where it talks about how to develop synergy with teams by bringing out the best characteristic that you and your teammate agree upon so that you can leverage. If I'm a coach, go back to sports. Favorite team was when the Bulls had Rodman, Jordan, and Pippen. But Phil Jackson can't coach Dennis Rodman the same way he coached Jordan, the same way he coached Pippen. He needs to bring out the best one of those positions. He has to treat them differently to bring out the best of them. Now, the demand, the standard is the same. That's not what we're saying. But meeting them where they are to get the best of them, that's leadership.
Okay. I want to talk about something that's important to anybody, and that's having a good support system.
Yeah.
And fortunately for you, you have a good support system. So I wanted you to talk more about that.
Yeah. For me, all of the things that I dream about doing have come to reality based on a support system that I've had. I've had crazy ideas. I've had overly ambitious ideas. And along my way, I've had a support system of folks who said, yeah, why not? Give it a try. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Joining the military. For me, it was a crazy idea. My dad, but give it a try. Flying helicopters. Crazy. Okay, yeah. Go for it. Why not? Mm-hmm. Go for it. Right? As I matured and I was able to find my best friend, partner, and wife, Trish, there were some crazy ideas that I wanted to do. And throughout my 24 years of leading in the military, she's been maybe tweak this, maybe tweak that, but go. Then we had our daughter, Charlotte, and that she's now 19, and she provides a unique lens too. So me and my tribe of supporters, because I still have crazy ideas, which is important for us. We have to, the day we stop dreaming, why try? Mm-hmm. So even with this book, it was a dream. And I remember we were in the kitchen. I'm like, I got my PhD. I'm done. I did the things I've hit these boxes and I have so much I want to say. And my daughter, Charlotte, was like, Dad, you need to stop playing. You just need to write a book. Might just write a book. And Trish was standing too. And she tell you, just do it. And that's where the seed was planted. And that was this support system I had. I was fortunate. So that's how important it is for me. So that I could not imagine being Colonel Scott, Ryan Scott, Dr. Scott without a solid support system. And you are on that list. My brothers are on that list. There have been moments where, again, like we had on our first question, we talking in the subway, like, hey, man, what do you think? That sounds crazy to me, but how did that land with you? And you say, hey, bro, why not?
Yeah, because it didn't sound crazy.
Yeah. But for the dreamer, call me a dreamer too. So
I want to go back because we talk about setting a bar, and we both was in environments where we talk about it, like don't get in trouble and just go to school. But now you've created your own family, your own environment. So I wanted you to talk about how you setting a bar for your child to carry on the legacy.
One of the most important things we can do as people, whether you are blessed with having children or in a leadership position or just in your social network, you are matriarch or patriarch, the dad, the mom, the aunt, the uncle, one of the biggest things we must do is model what right looks like. And at the same time, provide safety to them, safety to people. People want to feel safe. Right? So with my daughter, Charlotte, I've done on my part, now we just got the perfect recipe because Trish has done some things that I can't do. And just physically, I cannot do the way that she's done it. But as her father, at least I'm proud of providing two things, right? I've modeled for her what I think right looks like. I don't beat her over the head with the Bible, but I model what my walk with God looks like so that she can see the things and not depart from it. I model hard work, even though I don't beat her over the head about studying and the other things. I model hard work and show her that if you study, these things are possible. I model how to communicate with someone I love. Me and my wife Trish, like we argue, we disagree, but I model for her how to do that in a healthy way. So we got rules, no cursing, no name calling, and I model that for her. At the same time, I make her feel safe. You will make mistakes. I love you. You will fail. I love you. You can always come back home. I'm here for you. So modeling and making them feel safe. You don't have to be someone's biological parent to do that. I'm fortunate enough to have a daughter to do that, but I can do that as somebody I'm mentoring. James, if you need me and I was in a position where I was a leader in your life, I can still do those two things for you and have a huge impact on who you become as a person. And that's what the journey is all about. Some of us are blessed to deal with children that we give birth to, but many of us have opportunity to deal with people that we just come in contact with if we have the fortitude, just give it to them that right way.
You touched on something, and we grew up going to church.
Yeah.
But then, we got old. You get older and you develop your own relationship with God. And I've noticed that you're more spiritual now. Like I noticed that you talk about God a lot more. Was it just your life experiences, just like all the things you had to overcome? Like, how did you develop your relationship with God? And I know this is a different question.
No, it's okay. No,
it's important.
Questions,
I think it's important because to me, and this is my opinion, I think you have to have a relationship with God to be a great leader. That's my personal.
Okay, I understand that. And it's a valid point. I think each of us will find our way to becoming the person we're supposed to be, whether it's a leadership, followership, or other, in a way that matters. But you're right. I have evolved into someone who's truly connected with my beliefs in God. I'm there, but it's not automatic. You've seen the evolution of who I become as a human being, right? Mm-hmm. I grew up. Our grandfather was a pastor, and he would call the house and have morning service at 5 a.m. And I was the only knucklehead that would answer the phone, but he would just talk and say the Bible and just recite scripture to me over and over and over. But I would answer, and it became, I now, based on those phone calls, have memorized things, wisdom, lessons, scripture from him that are just part of my core. But I can tell you the truth, man, like my walk with God is very unique. And I speak about it openly because I'm not ashamed of who I am as I come out as Dr. Ryan Scott. But I don't take my family to church. Mm-hmm. Like I share that with you. Like we don't go to the traditional church, but we are very, very connected with God. Like nothing that you see, whether it's what's coming out of my mouth, my heart, my outlook on life, my experiences, the book, all because I've been blessed and fortunate enough to have that. And that's a spiritual foundation that I have that I think for me is important. But other people find that in different ways. And to your point of leaders not being good leaders if they're not connected to God, I think it's different, right? I think I would say that leaders aren't good leaders if they're not connected to their fellow human beings. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, bringing their fellow human beings to a level where they can improve. And if that journey involves God, then I'm all for it. If it involves them being centered and know what they want and they're making the world that they live in better because they're a steward of this generation, better. You know what I'm saying? But I'm real careful about beating people over the head and putting those labels on, not to correct you, but I think those things matter because we all, again, meet people where they are. You just never know. What if What if somebody had a bad experience with the church
Mm-hmm.
and it just changes their outlook? So they just shun it because they just got an invisible wound. Are they wrong? No, I don't know that experience. Their potential to be a leader, still there.
Mm-hmm.
They just say, you know what? Not right now, not yet for me. My journey is still exploratory because my trust in that environment was shaped on my negative experience. And that happens a lot.
And now you know what? I like that answer. It don't change my opinion. But
I'm not trying to. That's
I know you're not. But
Yeah.
let me see. But I want to explain why.
Yeah.
Right? Because everything you said is true, and you're 100% right. But for me, as a man, as a human, right? I would, when times get tough, like really tough, and you overwhelmed, because that's gonna happen to you. We human.
Yeah.
We'll be overwhelmed at some point. Who are you going to? Like, who are you, who you submitting yourself to give you your power and your strength? Now, some people may say, oh, my inner circle, and that's cool. But that ain't enough for me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I want to know that, you are able to submit to a higher power. That's just me personally. Not, nothing against somebody who don't believe in God.
Yeah.
Because I just haven't, maybe I have had a leader that was an atheist and I just didn't know it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's just me personally. That's just my personal, but your answer's spot on.
Yeah, no, but I think that me being able to hear you and respect your perspective matters equally as me being confident in my answer. It's not either or, right? There's a great book called Navigating Polarities where it talks about yes and versus but or, right? Yes and your perspective is right. What I can tell you is none of us will know exactly how we will respond under pressure. But I will say this, when the pressure comes, what you see is what you really get. The true nature of a human being will be found under pressure. Fight or flight, belief, disbelief, calling out the God or calling out the Buddha or doing whatever you do, pressure will reveal that. Stress will reveal that. And that's what's a beautiful thing. Hopefully none of us have the type of stress where we're truly there, but none of us truly know how we will respond. Some of us have been given that test. There's a fortunate few of us who've been tested to say, oh, wow. And what they instinctually do is what they do. But you're right. So I think both of our perspectives can coexist for sure.
I want to end it with this because it's always great talking with you. And
I love it too.
I'm a huge talker. We could probably talk forever, but what do you feel? What you passionate about moving forward? Because at some point, your military career will end, and you're going to transition to something else. And I think, and let me put this on the record. I think as much as you have accomplished in the military, I think you're going to do even more outside of the military. That's what I know.
Yeah,
I'm not just telling you. I think because you'll be able to. I mean, we all know in the military, like you have to be. You have to watch what you say.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm not saying you're reckless because you're a highly intelligent person. It's just I think your mind will be able to be even more creative because you don't have to worry about, okay, let me make sure I don't offend anybody.
Yeah.
Which is good because that's what leaders do. You're a leader. Like a leader has to make sure that they don't put themselves or their soldiers in a bad position.
Yeah.
But you're going to transition out of that and you're going to be able to just stay free. So that's why I think, that's why I know you're going to be a much better person moving forward.
Yeah.
So what excites you moving forward?
You said fear, and one of my favorite quotes comes from Nina Simone was, what does freedom mean to you? Right? What does freedom mean to you? And she says, it's a feeling, no fear. And I think that what you see in me now is I'm Ryan Scott. I am Dr. Ryan Scott. And when I retire, I'm pivoting right now. When I retire, which will be, by the time some of y'all see this podcast, I'm probably already I'll party already out.
Well, I hope not.
Yeah. But what you see is what you get. How I approach life is informed by the gift of being able to serve in the military. And the things that I say will be informed by those experiences. What will be different is freedom, no fear. But the things that I say will still be informed, because what you see now is what you get. I won't all of a sudden flip a switch and now be a different person. I am. When somebody quoted this to me, and I really appreciate this analogy, Superman and Clark Kent, they both are the same person. Just because he has the Superman cowl on doesn't mean that Clark Kent isn't there. And just because he hangs up the cape doesn't mean that Superman is gone away. Those two people are the same. And so for me, I think I will coexist with the military wisdom and experiences paired with who Ryan Scott is personally in the upbringing, and lean into who Dr. Ryan Scott is in the forefront. But all those things will be the same thing, but I will be doing that with no fear.
Listen, I'm honored. I'm happy that we had this conversation. Let me tell you, man, first of all, thank you for your service.
Oh, man, I appreciate you.
I mean, you've been...
Me for yours.
Yeah, appreciate it. Just because all you've done for the country, like you've been an outstanding leader to many men. You've done great things. And I'm just really excited to see what you have moving forward. Because like I said, I just think, I know how brilliant you are. I know what kind of speaker you are. So I'm just excited to see everything you got moving forward, man. And I love you and I'm proud of you, man. And
Love you too.
Just looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, thank you. I thank you for letting me come on in conversation with Lamp. Like this, not only am I a fan of what you're doing, but to participate in the process is a gift. And to see you keep leaning into your gifts and sharing them with everybody out there and then allowing me to participate in it. Yeah, I'm humbled and blessed. I love you too. And if you're interested, go to whywepaintrocks.com to learn more, and feel free to reach out to me if you're looking for leadership on a one-on-one basis, because I got more to do out here. And you're right. I think my life as I pivot after the military is going to be an exciting journey, and I'm looking forward to leaning into it with you.
Do you have social media handles?
Yeah, you can find, I'm building right now because this pivot was new. But I think the best way to find me would be at Why We Paint Rocks on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn under Ryan J. Scott, PhD. I'm also on Facebook as Ryan J. Scott, and YouTube, at Why We Paint Rocks, for those platforms. My strongest voice right now, most professional voice, lives on Facebook and LinkedIn. Those are where you find me. But Google me. You'll find me. I'm out there. I got a couple videos as I'm trying to build my voice with your mentorship, James, as you help encourage me to go there. But I'm out there. I'm building Dr. Ryan Scott's voice now that I'm free.
Okay. Well, good, man. Again, I love you, man. I'm proud of you, and I can't wait to see everything you got moving forward.
Thanks, man. I love you, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks. I want to take the time to thank everyone for listening to the podcast. I truly appreciate your support. You can follow me on Instagram at conversations_with_lamp. My Facebook is also Conversation with Lamp. You can listen to the podcast on SoundCloud and Apple. Please watch the podcast on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and comment. And also, for those watching, I bought a couple copies of the book. So hit me up and just say, hey, I want a copy of the book, and I'll send you a free copy of it.
Signed by me.
Oh, yeah, signed by him. So, yeah, just hit me. Act soon, though, because I don't have a bunch. So just hit me up, and I'll get you a copy. So, again, thank you all for listening. Have a great day.